How are you guys doing? Today is Monday, January 11th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. And for this episode of The Elite, with the conclusion of the wild card round of the 2021 NFL playoffs, I'm going to do a preview that leads us into the NFL divisional round as we started off with 14 teams. Now only 8 teams remain as the third, fourth, and seventh seeds from both the AFC and the NFC have both been eliminated. And of course, I'm going to preview each matchup as we're only dropping down to 8 teams left. We are at the quarterfinals of the NFL, and I'm just going to walk you through each and every single matchup and how we got here. So starting on Saturday, January 16th at 4:35, the first seed in the NFC, Green Bay Packers, will host the 6th seed in the NFC, the Los Angeles Rams. So the Green Bay Packers, of course, got here after having an amazing season, of course, off the back of Aaron Rodgers. Their tackle, David Bakhtiari, will be out, and if I gave offensive linemen like elite status, I would give David Bakhtiari an elite status. It'll be I have a lot of questions as to how Green Bay is going to perform without their most important offensive lineman, but this is still an incredible Green Bay team offensively, defensively, and they're facing off a team that's coming off a pretty good win against the Seahawks. Jared Goff is back. He's playing he had to replace Wolford even though he got his thumb dislocated. But he was able to come in, make the right passes, make the right plays, and help the Los Angeles Rams come up with a very, very big win that got him here in the first place. And that's going to be a very interesting game as it happens on Fox. It'll be in Lambeau. It'll be January, and it's an outdoor stadium that's freezing cold against a warm weather team. My money would go on the Green Bay Packers for this one, but since their offensive tackle is out, I wouldn't be surprised if the Los Angeles Rams defense their defensive line at least takes advantage of this weakness and at least gives the Packers a game, but I think the Packers win this one. So this leads to the second game of Saturday at 8:15, the second seed in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills, will face off against the 5th seed in the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens, on NBC. So first, the Buffalo Bills got here after beating the Colts in the first playoff game of the weekend. A very decisive win against a very impressive Indianapolis Colts team. They couldn't really, they could defend the run pretty well, and I think the Buffalo Bills do a really good job of outscoring their opponents. This is a very different team that they're facing. They're facing off against the Baltimore Ravens, who are coming off of their 20-13 win against a very strong Tennessee Titans team that held the best running back in the entire NFL to 40 yards. So I think they're going to do a pretty good job of shutting down Buffalo's run game. This will be a very interesting matchup because both teams are cold weather teams, but the Ravens are the Ravens are the, I guess they're more used to being they're the playoff veteran out of the two teams. I wouldn't be surprised if the Baltimore Ravens, just them having more experience, gives them a certain edge in the playoffs that'll give them the win over the Bills. Because if I were to call it, I think the Ravens are going to beat the Bills this game. I think it'll be a very, very good game between two cold weather playoff teams. I think the Bills are the hotter team, but I think the Ravens have been here before. And I think the little bit of experience that Lamar Jackson has over Josh Allen is going to show in this game. I believe the Ravens will be the first team to advance to the AFC Championship game. So that transitions us to our Sunday, January 17th games. After those, at 3:05, the first seed Kansas City Chiefs are going to host the 11-5 Browns. Kansas City Chiefs got here after getting their first round bye after virtually dominating the East and not even having to play their starters in the last week with one bye to earn, and they had already earned it. Great season from them as they will take and they will as they will get their first taste of 2021 playoff play against the 11-5 Browns, who convincingly beat the Pittsburgh Steelers last night. Pretty bad. Oh, I won't say pretty badly. The Steelers did do a lot of their scoring in garbage time, but in the first half, the Browns outscored the Steelers 35-10. And this is the Steelers team that started 11-0. The Browns are a very, very hot team, and they also did play it in Pittsburgh, and they are a cold weather team. Playing outside in Kansas City is going to be a bit different because you have the crowd, it's going to be cold, and you happen to be playing against the best team in football, arguably the reigning Super Bowl champs, and the Chiefs very well could do so. Their path to a repeat starts next week, and since they're the home team, I think that the Chiefs are going to win. I think the Browns have a very good chance of winning, but I believe the Chiefs will be the team that comes victorious out of this, and they will meet the Ravens in the AFC Championship game as it stands. With at least that's how I predict it will happen. And then last but not least, that leads to the NFC divisional round, which will be an NFC South matchup. The second seed New Orleans Saints are going to host the fifth seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Superdome, which will be a very exciting game to watch. The New Orleans Saints or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got here after beating the Washington football team on Saturday, 31-23 in a very convincing game. The Buccaneers defense looked very, very, very strong, and so did their offense. And let's not mention they have probably the greatest playoff performer on their offense in Tom Brady. So he's not a player that I would bet against, but they are going to play against the New Orleans Saints, coming off of the Saints' convincing 21-9 win against the 7th seed Chicago Bears in that same stadium. They're gonna seek to host their division rivals yet again, and I think in their earlier matchups, it was a very good matchup through the regular season, and I think the Saints are the better team, but I wouldn't bet against Tom Brady, especially with all the bad luck that's been happening to the Saints. If I were to call it, I would call a Tampa Bay Buccaneers upset in the NFC divisional round in the Superdome. But of course, my predictions mean nothing because at the end of the day, these teams have to play. Congratulations to all these teams for having made it this far. And if we look at the NFL, because there are 8 teams that are left, there are officially 24 draft picks there are officially 24 teams that are draft picks that are set as of right now as we transition to this next round of playoffs that we will start with on Saturday, but I wanted to get to today following today's games. And I want to thank you guys once again for listening to all 7 minutes of this piece. Today is Monday, January 11th, 2021. And once these games are finished, I will do a preview for the championship round. But with that said, I want to thank you guys once again for listening to my piece. If you get a chance to watch all of these games, because this is really, really great football. And only one of these 8 teams can be the 2021 Super Bowl champion. With that said, I want to thank you guys once again for listening to my piece. And peace out. I will catch you next week regarding all that.